Drum roll, drum roll. Congratulations! Welcome to the 4th month in the year 2022, and the 4th month is the month of April. Welcome. You know, if you're a regular on Rosecast, that I'm very pleased to always tell you congratulations. And let me just give you a rundown of why this tradition started. This tradition started as a result of the COVID lockdown in the year 2020. And because of how things were then, how fear gripped everyone, and how it seemed that death was imminent for anyone, it just came to my heart to say congratulations at the beginning of the month or in the first podcast of the month, just to let people, just encourage people and let them know that you've done well and you survived everything that has been happening. And since the year 2020, it has continued as a tradition on Rosecast, and honestly, I'm not seeing this tradition stopping, because I really think it has become one of the most healthy. It has become a very healthy pattern or a healthy tradition of this podcast. Unlike some other traditions that had kind of stopped, I already gave that explanation in the beginning of this year. That is the song intro. I said I was going to stop song intro, and I gave my reasons in the beginning of 2022, and actually gave a hint of that in 2021 at the end of 2021. However, this particular tradition, I'm not seeing it stopping anytime soon. So that being said, congratulations on making it to the 4th month of 2022. How has your year been so far? How has January been? How has February been? And how was March? How was the month of March? How was everything? From where I'm staying, that's in the country Nigeria. If you're listening to this from other countries, Nigeria has just been in a lot of things have been happening. In fact, from last year and then this year, the month of March was really, I would not want to say chaotic, but let me be very honest to say that it was a very chaotic month. And since the year started, it has actually been a very overwhelming year so far. To a great extent, personally, I just kind of feel a little bit numb to what has been going on, because if you try to absorb everything that's been happening, it's just too overwhelming. And then coupled with the crisis that's happening all around the world, Ukraine, Russia, Syria, some of the other countries that are not even being mentioned again, in Sudan, just like literally all around the world, it has not been very easy. And even for countries that are sort of not affected so majorly, they are being impacted by other countries, in the sense that other people are having a great influx into some other stable countries. And with that influx, I'm sure that some stable countries are also being affected indirectly by what is going on and the crises are going on in other countries. So that's why me saying this to you, like, even if you are hearing this from a very stable country, if you're not really having much problems, I'm sure you also have your own internal problems that you may have dealt with. And even if you didn't have any of that, please, you need to be congratulated for staying alive, for choosing to fight another day. And I know that is all God's grace. It's not by our power, it's not by sheer will alone, but it's God's grace that has given us the power to stay on. So today's congratulatory note is actually longer than other times, but I just wanted to add these other things to it. And with that being said, thank you for being on Rosecast again, and congratulations to you and myself as well. Hello and welcome to another episode on Rosecast. Welcome to the conclusion part of the Purpose series with the title Young and Living with a Purpose. I was really very excited to do this part because this series started with the 1st of March. It started with a congratulatory note, and it's also ending with a congratulatory note. So we started on the 1st of March, and we are having the conclusion on the 1st of April. So I'm really very excited because, wow, that's beautiful. Honestly, I didn't plan it. I didn't even think it out. Like, my mind was not like this was how it was going to be. It was when I realized that the 4th episode was on the 28th, and I looked at, wow, we're going to be 28 is not far from 1st of April. Then I realized that, wow, this is going to be ending on the 1st of April. So I'm just so grateful to God for giving me the opportunity. In fact, I won't lie that this series went beyond my expectation, in the sense that the people that guessed that were able to guest in this series that was taken, and the input that was given, I really wasn't expecting it in this dimension. And I will not lie, this was something that I just did. I just plunged in because I believed that God was leading me to do it. And like I already stated in the introductory part, this was a series that I thought I was going to do in the beginning of the year. But as God would have it, I ended up having it in the month of March. And in all, I'll say God works out everything for the good of them that love Him and are called according to His purpose. In fact, this particular passage was extended on beautifully in the previous series, that is in the episode 4. That is the previous series, or the series that ended, let's say the last part, because this is actually the conclusion part, but the part where we actually talked about, we addressed topics, and that was featuring Jason Alcott, and he really gave a lot of beautiful insight into this passage that I just mentioned now. So I just want to thank God for the opportunity to have done this series. I'm just so grateful for how God just took over it, and it was not really it was how I was able to go through it, and all the things that went with it. It was not really how I was imagining it, but at the end of the day, I'm very grateful and I'm pleased with how it all panned out and it all went through. So in today's conclusion series, I'm just going to be sharing some extra stuff and just some comments I got and along the way, and I'm just going to be sharing also the journey so far and some extras too that I'm hoping to share. So what are we waiting for? Let's ride into today's podcast. Now, this was my plan. My plan was to feature someone that I believe was flourishing or doing very well in their calling as a young person. But the person I wanted to invite, interestingly, did not have enough time to be part of the podcast. And honestly, it was not something that was my initial plan from the beginning. So I would have preferred if it was part of my initial plan, so that I would have given the person enough time. Although I informed this person like 2 weeks before the end of the series, but at the same time, I really wish that it was something that was on my mind a longer time, so that I would have had more options. But since it just came as an impromptu and it did not work out, I just felt, let me not push it, let me just go along with my original plan. So my plan was to get somebody that is flourishing in what they are doing and just ask them like very quick questions which will serve as an encouragement. Although throughout this series, the people that have featured on this podcast, featured on this series, they really gave a lot of encouragement, and I believe there were people that God has been helping them in the field that they are currently in. So since that didn't work out, I actually gave out a request for people to send in their questions. And if you listen to the previous episode, I actually asked for comments. However, I didn't really get the comment I was looking for. I didn't get the feedback that I was looking for. But that notwithstanding, that not still let's say limiting today's podcast, I'm just going to go in with a particular comment I got, which I requested for. So today I'm going to be sharing with you some insights into what I got from my father, because yes, I asked him for his thoughts on this topic, and there were some things that he said that were profound. And interestingly, some of the things that he shared were things along the line some of my guests already now mentioned. Like, he shared them before I even invited those guests, and I felt like, wow, this is beautiful, because they all synchronized, and I felt really blessed by the input. Some of the things I'm going to share with you, you must have heard it, you may have heard it in the previous episodes in this series, but because I wrote it down already and I was hoping to share for this particular conclusion series, I'm just still going to share them as they are. I'm also going to share some few things that some people commented along the line. Like, say, while they listened to the podcast, they just shared me a small feedback, but like I said, I didn't get as much feedback as I was expecting, but that doesn't still stop today's podcast. So as today's episode is going to continue running, and as I share the comment that I received in, I'm just going to give you a little bit of rundown of the guests that featured, and just how God really helped, and the challenges I actually faced during the creation of this podcast. So that's what this conclusion is going to be about. I'm going to share with you some of the challenges I faced, and also the way forward, and how I believe that God is leading me to go along. And whether this purpose series is going to end, if it's going to be a continuous thing, if it's going to be something that'll still come up again, yes, I'm going to share that with you as this episode continues. So when I asked my father, who is Dr. Agon, Dr. MP Agu, concerning this purpose series, there were very profound things that he said, which I'm going to share. The first one he said was, the different stages of life has different purpose. So what he was explaining there is that your purpose actually takes more form in different stages of your life, and I think this is one thing that Jason Alcott really tried to emphasize in the previous episode, and that is maintaining purpose. When I had interview with Bro Jason, already had this with my dad, and I and Jason didn't discuss this, and I felt like, wow, you guys are just saying the same thing. And I felt like, wow, this was I really felt it really touched me deeply, because I felt like they didn't have any discussion with themselves, but they said the same thing. And then the second thing I wrote down here is purpose in youth drives it drives to purpose in to old age. So your purpose in your youth also it extends to the purpose in your old age. So in as much as purpose takes more shape with different stages of your life, and one of the things my dad also talked about was, being a young person, being a married person, being a father, and all. And I think Bro Jason also addressed that as well. So the purpose that you begin in your youth actually gives you a vision or a perception into what your old age will look like. And the third thing I have here is approximately 30 years, your purpose should be defined. That's why anyone that listens to this podcast series, this particular purpose series, realize that I was very, very intentional in asking that question to my guest. At what age should a young person, or should a person rather, know their purpose? And my guests they all gave very beautiful responses. And my father here gave a very specific age, and he was like, at the age of 30, one should at least know what their purpose should be. And that is the reason why this series, the Lord led me to just target towards young people, because I believe that as a young person, if you have a perception of what you should be doing with your life, it helps you to have a more focused life. It doesn't mean that everything will be perfect, doesn't mean that everything will be well detailed with you, as we already expounded in the series that was taken. But it gives your life a sort of shape. It gives your life a sort of form that you can build on, that can be builded on with time. A lot of that was already shared in the previous series. And then he said, awareness of who you are with God, it helps you define your purpose. I think another point that was stressed on a lot in the series that we're taking, especially in flourishing in purpose and maintaining purpose. In fact, I'll say from the first episode, like the first mini episode that the guest was featured onto the fourth episode with Jason Alcott, we made a lot of emphasis on this. And please, I implore you, if you didn't listen to this series from the first episode, please do go listen. There were so many gems that were shared that even I myself, I need to listen to this series over again to remind myself what was shared. So awareness of who you are with God or in God helps define your purpose. And it also defines it defines you and defines what you do. Like I said, this point was also well addressed in the episode that we're taking. Awareness of your ability also helps. Like, when awareness of who you are also helps you be aware of your ability. It also helps you to be aware of what you can do, not just what you should do, but what it is that you can do. I think we also address this in flourishing in purpose. And I also think also address that in maintaining purpose. Ability of, like, you have to be aware of what you can do. What is your ability? What is your strength as of now? We talked about the book of Jeremiah chapter 3, I think verse 23. It says, it is good for young men to bear their yoke in their youth. So there is a time for things to be done. There is a time to build yourself. There's a time for all of this. And there's a time for an ability. There's a time within your ability can accept. And sometimes, and will I say sometimes, sorry, the best time to actually build a capacity for certain things, strengths in your lives at a young age. So when you're able to build capacity for certain things, even as you grow older, because of the capacity you've already built, some things just continue as a reflex. Some things you continue to build on the strength that you've already gained. Then, purpose drives our lifestyle. I think this too was very much addressed by Bro Jason in maintaining your purpose. Purpose, it directs our or drives our lifestyle. Then, beautifully concluding was God defines our purpose, and you must be able to listen to God speak to you. So these were some of the things that were shared. And like I told you, when I asked these questions, I had not had the interview with Bro Jason, and I just felt like, wow, this was beautiful. Say, God defines our purpose. So, this was thoroughly stressed in the previous podcast, and I just felt as he was giving this point, I felt that they were just so beautiful enough to conclude this series with it as a concluding comment. I would have wished that other people gave in their comments, that I felt to have been more diverse to have gotten comments. And I was also hoping to get questions which really didn't come. I'm actually being very honest with you, no need to camouflage or hide that. However, if you're listening to this podcast and you feel like, oh, I would have loved to have given a comment, I would have loved to ask a question, I would have loved to contribute, there is no problem. Do not hesitate. Please reach out to me. I'll be super glad to get your comment on the series, or get your comment on the little that have been shared from this one as well. But most importantly, on the series I was taking, I'll be so glad and so pleased to get your comment. And as I will try, even if I'm not going to expand more, because I would have loved to have gotten the comments so that I would have shared it in this particular episode. However, I'll just give a brief talk on it on the next episode, and I'll just give a shout out to whoever it is that sends in their comments. However, there were a few people that sent in an agreement to certain that were shared. They didn't really share something completely new from what was already shared. They didn't give a different perspective, but they sort of concord to what was shared, and I really appreciate that. So like I said, if you really want to give a very unique perspective, a unique concept, or what you have really gained from the podcast series that has been taken, do not hesitate to reach out to me, and I would give you a shout out. So the two people that actually gave in their unique comment, or that gave in a concurring comment, were Jafet Obo and Ebo Amuta. So I'm just going to give the two of you a shout out on this particular episode. So Japhet, in the first episode, he shared that he was really grateful for the way that we address ambition and purpose, and he made a comment he made a comment on Twitter saying that one of the things that he really learned, that really blessed him, or that he really picked, was that ambition can be fitted into our purpose. So we have to find a way where our ambition fits into our purpose. It's not like you are trying to force your ambition to become your purpose, but even with your ambition, you can find purpose. So in that kind of scenario, you have to look in this ambition I'm having. Where does my purpose fit in? Is it possible that my purpose is my ambition? I'm making a paraphrase to what he shared, but I really love the fact that he listened thoroughly to what was shared, and this was what he was giving back as a feedback. And then for Eba Muta, she made a response to the maintaining your purpose which is now called, and she said that one of the things that she picked was that even if someone ticks other values that you have, them aligning to your purpose also matters a lot. And because that was one thing that Jason Alcott also talked about, and I was really blessed by that part of that particular episode, which is maintaining your purpose. He said you need to marry someone that also aligns with your purpose, and it really make a lot of make a lot of, or add a lot of value to your life as time goes on. So she made a response that even if someone ticks your other boxes, they should be able to align with the purpose that God has in your life. Not that they may have exact purpose with you, but there has to be a part of their purpose that also aligns with your purpose. As Amos 3:3 says, can two work except they be agreed? The answer is no. Two can only work together properly if they agree. So yes, I needed to give them a shout out because at least two of them made an effort. So, but like I said, if you listen to this particular episode and you still want to give in your input, please, it is still open. It's not locked, but the only thing is that's not going to be part of the conclusion series. I'm only going to just give you a shout out in the next episode that we take here, or depending on when you send me your response, then you get a shout out. And if you want to do that, you can either send me a message directly if you have me on any of my social media platform, or you send me a message via the link attached to this podcast platform. Check for the contact button, send me a message there, and I'll get an email and I'm going to respond to you. Or if you are using the Anchor platform, there's a voice message button you can press and send me your message through that. But if you just want to type it out, just use the link attached to the podcast platform, select the contact button there, and send me your message, and I'm going to respond to you. So this is the part where I'll just give you a breakdown of each guest that featured on this series. And the first guest that featured was my sister, is named Mary Ago, and I actually had to cajole her, and I don't really say cajole, but like I had to just encourage her to be part of the series. Actually just have that principle. I don't force people to be part of anything. I love people to be willing, but she was very hesitant and reluctant because she felt the topic was too big for her. So on the day when I was planning to record it, she was dragging her feet, and I had to ask her, do you want to be part of this? And she just replied me that, okay, I've already given you my word, so I don't want to take it back. And I had to ask her multiple times, if you don't want to be part of this, you can just let it be. I don't want to force you. I don't want you to reluctantly be part of this podcast, because I want that vibe to be there. And if you listen to the first episode, which is what is purpose, realize that at some point there were times when I nervously laughed, or there were times when I asked a question and she didn't really give a response, and those were just some few moments of awkwardness that we had in the period of creating the podcast, of creating that particular episode. However, along the line, she got caught up with the topic and she was giving her sincere input. One of the things that actually was very honest and let her know that I wanted her to be very realistic, because she felt the topic was too heavy, too big for her. So she didn't want to just jump into something that felt too big. But along the line, I let her know that you don't have to know everything. Just share your comment. And I really wanted people to feel related. Like, I wanted there to be a sense of relatableness to the series. And I'm so grateful for her input, because that particular episode was actually well done, and I really enjoyed the input that she gave to it. So after everything, because she was physically present with me, we just did it together in the same space, and I didn't have to have any issue with time frame or anything. Since both of us were free at the time I was creating the podcast, we did it straight away. And also, if you realize the sequence of that particular episode, which is the first episode, it was certainly different from the rest of the part of the episodes that we're taking in this particular series. So yes, this is just a rundown of the first episode that was done. Now, episode 2 was unique because I actually let my guests know a long time ago. I let my guests know almost a month prior to creating the particular episode, that I wanted him to feature on this episode. However, the issue was that he has some technical issues, and he let me know on time. And I said, okay, I really wanted you to be part of this podcast, because he's somebody that actually has been part of like vocal recordings and all, and I felt that there would have been more to share, because I knew certainly when you are recording vocally, there would be more to share, than when you write it down, or reading out a piece of written document. So whatever how I put that. However, I let him know that okay, he could write out something for me and I'll read it out. And by the way, this series is the first series which I featured someone, and it was certainly going to be my first experience of testing what it looked like recording with someone. So I wanted to see how it was going to look like. But since it was not going to work out with him, I said, okay, just write down a piece and I'm going to read out what you've written. And that was how episode 2 went, which is how to work in purpose. And after that, I had to continue remaining this remaining episode on my own. However, the input that was given already was very beautiful, and that was really my first time of actually also using that method, that is reading out a written piece. The few challenges I had with that was that I had to use another phone to record that, because as you know, if I've never let you know, I don't really have a very special device to make this particular to do my podcast. I do create my podcast using my phone, so I had to use another device to read out what was written, because we're not in the same environment as of when we created the podcast, or when I created the episode. I don't know why I keep entertaining episode and podcast. Forgive me. When I created the particular episode, so that was the challenge that was in that part. But I was really I felt really grateful that he tried his possible best, because he really had a lot of challenges that hindered him from sharing with me on the particular episode. But he made sure that he went out of his way to make sure that he still made the input he had promised. So episode 2, the guest featured was Gaius Bangda Bala, and I really appreciate him. He's a friend, he's a brother in Christ, and I really appreciate the input that he made. So let me just let you know that none of the episodes came easy, but I'm so grateful that he made sure that he kept his word. So thank you so much, guys. Episode 3's guest was very interesting, very interesting. Like, I wasn't expecting it. So a fellow acquaintance listening to the podcast, and who also happened to be part of my those on my email list, and reached out to me and like, okay, I have somebody that wants to be part of the podcast. I believe he's going to have an input. And I was like, okay, why don't you send him the form for those that want to contribute on the podcast? And quickly she sent it to the person, and the person responded immediately, and we went back and forth via emails. There are specific questions I asked on the form that I sent, so that I don't have to ask you elaborate question, and I can get the answer that I want exactly in terms of the information I want from people that would contribute on Rosecast. And we just had this mail back and forth, getting to fix a particular time to test run. And now this was my first time of having to record with someone that was not in my vicinity, of trying the first time of recording with someone that was far away. And we had a test run, and it was a very beautiful time. In our test run, we first of all had a good time just interacting with each other, and then we had a time going through the topic, and I was really blessed already from the test run that we did together. Prior to that, we actually spent like 3 or 4 days just interacting with each other on a particular social media page, on a social media platform rather. And then from there, I was able to just weigh in the person I was talking to, and I felt like, okay, this was somebody that will really fit the topic. I didn't want to rush into giving him that platform. However, when we had the test run together, I felt convinced that yes, this is the person for the podcast. And when we finally had the day of recording, we agreed together to do recording. It was a blessing time together, and that person is Obilom John Jr., and he was the guest that featured in episode 3, which is flourishing in purpose. And it was a great time. It was a beautiful time. A lot of beautiful things were shared. The challenges that we've both faced on our end were just a little bit of challenge, and probably if you listen to that podcast, you must have maybe noticed a little bit challenge that we had. However, we were able to overcome that, and I thank God that the podcast was done, and we both had to sacrifice time. We had to make up time, because Obilom John is also a very busy person from where he is, and God has been using him in the field, and the ministry is into, and what he's doing too has to do with young people, and he's also a young person, so he just fits very beautifully into the topic that was being shared. And we had to both sacrifice our time, both for the test run and both for the episode that we had to come together. We had to sacrifice on our time to come do it together. So I really appreciate the effort, and I appreciate the things that were shared. So thank you so much, Obilom John Jr., for being part of episode 3 of the Purpose series, Young and Living with a Purpose. Now, this particular guest was the most challenging one to arrange with, and I'm going to let you know why. I never mentioned this very well when we did the episode. Probably from the other ones that I already shared, you realize that I actually mentioned some of the challenges in the episodes, but this particular one I didn't share. I'm going to share with you here the challenges that were faced. Now, I met Jason Alcott on a unique platform which I had been exploring, and the moment I saw his request, I felt that this was somebody that had the vision of what I wanted or on Rosecast, or who I would want to feature on Rosecast. And when I sent him and by the way, he even sent me his request within the time this podcast was being created, so everything came in at I just felt at the right time. And when I sent him the form to respond to, I realized that, wow, we were 8 hours apart. And by the way, I am 8 hours ahead of Jason Alcott based on his location, and he's 8 hours behind me. That is a lot of time difference. And that meant, like, wow, how are we going to blend in time? And we went back and forth with our emails, but he was very open and very willing to be part of the podcast. He was not frustrated with my multiple emails because I had to change times a lot of times. I had to make a lot of schedules. Like, I changed my scheduling. I scheduled our meeting up many times, and he was very patient with the whole process. But like I said, we are 8 hours apart, and that was a big deal. However, both of us had to come to a deal point. Like, we had to come together and agree on a time that fitted both of us properly. And he had sacrificed probably the extra hours, depending on, because he actually asked for a time that would have been too late for me, and we both had to come to a time that both of us could agree with and could deal with, and came together. But Jason really gave me an easy time, and he responded to the emails. Interestingly, when I was sending him an email during the day, he would respond to that very early in the morning the next day. It's also interesting. Like, whenever I sent him an email, I knew I was going to get a response the next day due to the time difference. But God helped us, and we made it work. And we had to have a test run, because that was something that I believed that was going to really help us. Great to have a test run before the original podcast was done. So we had a test run, and I was super blessed when we had a test run. And I just knew that, wow, I had found the right person to take the topic. And by the way, when I even sent Jason Alcott the topic, between the time I sent the topic and the time he did by the time I gave him the topic and the time we did the episode together, the time span was not that much. However, he was able, by God's grace, to bring out a lot of beautiful things that were shared on that episode. And it was just an interesting time to really meet someone that really loves the Lord. And even though we have never met in person, we've never really connected on that place, to realize that God could bring someone so far away that shared the same mindset as you do. It's beautiful that God does have people in different places. It's just God's way of bringing us together. So my meeting up with Jason was a very unique way, and I was really blessed by the meeting, and I was really blessed by what was shared on episode 4, which is maintaining your purpose. And please do not miss any of the episodes. All of them will bless you. And it was just a blessing to find, how God could bring people together to bless others, to share in others, and how God speaks to us no matter where you are. God speaks, and when you meet someone that has the heart to love God, you still hear God speaking, and it's not dependent on where you are, your skin color or anything. It depends on the heart that loves God. So yes, I really appreciate you, Jason Alcott. I really appreciate your family for the time that you had to spare and for the sacrifice that you had to make. I'm really appreciative. So yes, Jason Alcott in Maintaining Your Purpose for the Purpose series, Young and Living with a Purpose. Now, you already know that I already explained in the previous episodes the reason why the numbering of the episodes are different, and that's because I number the introduction, and I'm also going to number the conclusion, and that is what makes the episodes, their numbers are not in accordance with their original episodes. So that being said, that episode 1 looks up as episode 2 if you're flowing according to the pattern on Anchor. However, the introduction actually goes as episode 1, and this conclusion series goes go as episode 6, because of I just wanted them to be organized so that anybody that's coming across them will know that they are all together. And also just add an interesting fun fact. 3 of the guests I featured are writers, and 2 already have published works that are available for purchase. John Obilom wrote Overcoming Depression, and that's available on Okada Books and on Okada Books rather. And then Jason Akos wrote The Sewing Principle, which is available on Amazon. The Sewing Principle on Amazon. Now there's no way I'm going to easily share that on this platform. So if you would want the links to any of this book, like I said, the contact button, the link attached to the podcast platform, the contact button, you could request that if you don't have me on any of my social media platform, and I'm going to send you the link. However, if you are following me on Facebook, I'm going to share that. I'm going to share the links to their books, the links to their profile, for you to connect with them and for you to interact with them. And if you need them to participate in anything that you're doing, if you're in ministry, they are very much open to being part of contributing on any other beautiful platforms as well. So yes, Jason is open. Obilom is also open, I believe, to any other very beautiful Christian platform that will be willing to have them contribute. So yes, I really, really appreciate their input. And by the way, this is the month of April, and in the 24th day of this month, How to Be Stupid will be released. However, How to Be Stupid is available on pre-order. So that means if you pre-order for it now, once it's released, you are going to get it immediately to your inbox. But if you still want to wait, please, okay, when it's on the 24th of April, you still get your copy when you pay for it. The only thing is that if you pre-order this book now, you're going to get the free chapter. You're going to get the free chapter for free, just for you to get to know what the book is about, and just for you to start getting into the book before it is being shared. So that is what you get when you pre-order it now. So how do you get that? The link attached to this podcast. But you see that link, that website thing that is attached, or that extra link attached to your podcast platform, depending on when you're listening to. When you click on it, just click Seller Shop. You're going to see How to Be Stupid, and then you can pre-order. If you feel this title is very strong, then please just go check out and know what it's about. I'm really I don't use the word I bet you, but I tell you that it's not really what you think. It's going to be more than what you think, and it's going to be like different from what you think. But yes, just go check it out and let us know. And by the way, How to Be Stupid is also available on Amazon. So if you would want to also check Amazon, please do check Amazon. Type How to Be Stupid, and it's going to be available. If you're on Goodreads, any of those places you want to check, just check it out. And if you'll be interested in giving a review for this, do not hesitate to please give a good review, because I would need that for the progress of this book. So what is the future of this series? I really believe that God wants to do more with the Purpose series. Now, I'm not going to force anything. I'm not going to push anything. I'm just going to allow God to do His thing, because when God does it, is better than when you try to do it on your own. So I'm really feeling a stirring in my heart that God would want to take this series in a bigger way, to progress it. However, I'm trusting Him to open it more, but I'm already having an inspiration towards what God would like to do with this Purpose series with time. But like I said, I'm not going to force anything, and as things take more shape, I'm going to let you know on this platform, and I'm also going to let every other person on my other social media platform also know. So with that being said, this was Young and Living with a Purpose. However, the Purpose series covers every age group, but this particular series focused on young people. And like I said, even if you are not young in age, even if you are young, you are old in age and young at heart, this series will still bless you, no matter your age group. But this was actually very specific to young people. But in regards to the Purpose series, I'm trusting that God will want to do more with this series. And even if it's not on Anchor, it will certainly be on my other platforms, that's on my blog or depending on where else God would want to make use of, any other social media platform that God would want to make use of. And like I said, when that pans out more, I'm going to let you know how you can connect and be part of it. And by the way, if you would love to be a contributor on Rosecast, if you love what is going on Rosecast, you want to be a contributor, like I said, that contact button is going to really help you. There are the link attached to the platform, and I'm going to share with you my the form for you to look at, to view, to know how you can contribute and the other things that are required. Don't worry, then not a lot is required from you. Just simple questions that you can answer, just to get an insight to who you are and what you can contribute with and how you can contribute, and just an insight to who you are so that it could help in moving forward. There are many other things on that link. If you click subscribe to my email list, buy my books, connect to my art platform, request for an artwork, there are many things to be part of as you wish and as you desire to be. So yes, your support means a lot. If you've not subscribed to this platform, I don't know what you are waiting for. Please kindly do subscribe. The subscription means a lot to me, and I really appreciate that. And also, if this podcast has been blessing you, the episodes has been blessing you, the topics have been blessing you, please don't be selfish. Share this to as many people as possible so that they will enjoy what you are also enjoying. Please, I beg you. If you can download the episodes, don't hesitate. Download and listen offline. When you listen to it offline, share to somebody else so that they can be blessed. As you are doing that, God is also going to bless you. The people that are going to listen will bless you. They themselves will be blessed. I will be blessed. And as they share to other people, the blessings keeps on moving on from one person to another. And in all, God's name will be glorified. Most importantly, God's name will be glorified. So please do not hesitate to share these episodes, this series to other people. That would be a great blessing to many generations and to many other people. And if you would want me to be part of something beautiful, you to see what has been happening on Rosecast and you want my attention, the contact button will do it. In fact, just go to that contact button. It's going to do a lot. Just send me your requests or questions and I will reply you very quickly. I respond to my mails as quickly as possible. So I think I've said all the things in my heart, and hopefully without missing anything. Thank you for being on today's podcast or today's episode. Thank you for being on this. Welcome to the end of today's episode or today's podcast or today's whatever. I'm not going to apologize for my muffins. I think they add spice to the episode. But anyway, welcome to the end of and that brings us to the end of today's episode on Rosecast. And until next time on Rosecast, stay safe and God bless. Bye bye.